Well, hi there, Internet. My name's Court, and this is a rant. I got out of a 2-and-a-bit-year relationship a while back. Over the course of those years, I often felt that I was being taken for an idiot, wasn't being met halfway, and that I was putting so much time into the relationship and getting nothing out of it. I didn't make a conscious decision to walk away, I just kinda stopped. I wanted to love Gotham. I tried to love Gotham, I stuck by Gotham and even occasionally stood up for its better qualities. In the end, it simply wasn't enough. I think the real problem was that I loved the idea of Gotham. It could have been the origin story of the origin story, but not the show itself. Why? Because it's a terrible show. As I said, like many human relationships, I didn't have a watershed moment where I realized I was being damaged psychologically by such awful writing. Yes, I'm exaggerating. I just woke up one day and realized that I didn't really have any drive to go watch the latest episode. It got me thinking though, why did I spend so much time watching a loser that was occasionally entertaining, but mostly just frustrated, bored, or insulted me? I was talking to a buddy who is still watching the show, and we ended up likening it to Stockholm Syndrome. I think most of us have those shows or even movie franchises that we stick with far longer than we should. Under the Dome is another culprit for me. #BlunderTheDome. And don't get me wrong, these are not guilty pleasures, because we actively dislike these shows and therefore derive no pleasure from them. Yet we continue watching them. I've come up with a few reasons why it's basic Stockholm Syndrome. I will be using Gotham as my subject for this essay, mainly because the show is so bad, but had so much potential to be good. But again, this can be applied to many different programs. Before I get to the reasons, however, let's have a quick look at a definition of what the syndrome actually is. Stockholm Syndrome, or capture bonding, is a psychological phenomenon first described in 1973, in which hostages express empathy and sympathy and have positive feelings toward their captors, sometimes to the point of defending and identifying with these captors. These feelings are generally considered irrational in light of the danger or risk endured by the victims, who essentially mistake a lack of abuse from their captors for an act of kindness. The phenomenon was named after a robbery at the Kreditbanken, a bank in Stockholm, Sweden, where the robber took 4 hostages and tortured them for 6 days. Once they were released, the former hostages refused to testify against their captor, and even went on to attempt to raise money to fund his legal defense. Other famous cases of Stockholm Syndrome include those of Patty Hearst and Yvonne Ridley, both of which are fascinating reads if you're interested in learning more. But how does this apply to my argument here? Well, we think it'll get better. Yes, we figure that, as the dutiful television hostages that we are, if we do what our captors want, as in keep watching, things will get better. We will be treated more kindly if we behave. Sure, most shows aren't at their apex when they launch. Many shows take a couple seasons to find their feet. Take The Simpkins as an example. The first season is nearly unwatchable, yet it became one of the smartest, funniest shows of the 90s. It went on to become absolute mediocrity, but that's another discussion. Our belief, however irrational, is that if we are ideal hostages, our captors, the writers, director, cast, etc., will reward us with better content. And sometimes that's true. Breaking Bad started off great and only got better as the show progressed. It took a long time to build its audience, and it could have been canceled at any time. The team behind the show always wanted to make a great product, but as their audience grew, they realized that they had a responsibility to all those fans that kept them on the air, and boy, they delivered. We empathize and sympathize. We all love Batman. Who doesn't love Batman, and why are you still friends with that person? Well, the showrunners of Gotham love Batman as much as we do because they made a show about the history of Gotham City. And Jim Gordon. They included a proto-Batman, a proto-Joker, a proto-Catwoman who, and here I go justifying the show again, is a pretty solid interpretation of what Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman would have been as a teen. Our captors can't be too dissimilar from us because we share a common interest. Furthermore, we know how much they love Batman and his rogues gallery. We know they're trying to make the best show we can, so we go easy on them, because we empathize with their struggle to get it right. We defend and identify. Okay, yeah, Gotham isn't a great show, we say to our smarter friends who gave up on it a long time ago. It's poorly acted and poorly written. It gives us crazy cliffhangers that are resolved and even retconned in the very next episode. It's the definition of lazy writing. Our smarter friends look at us like, yeah. But then we add, but Donald Logue's pretty awesome as Bullock, and that kid who played Jerome, the proto-Joker, was fantastic. I mean, sure, his impetus for becoming the Joker was that his mom was a nagging drunken whore, which is a totally lame origin story, but The actor was really good. Defending the best parts of a terrible show is akin to the quote from earlier which read, "Hostages essentially mistake a lack of abuse from their captors for an act of kindness." Lima Syndrome. An inverse of Stockholm Syndrome, it means that the captors are sympathizing and empathizing with their captives. This is something we see very clearly with Walter White and Crazy 8 in the first season of Breaking Bad, as Walt sympathizes with Crazy 8 and tries to avoid killing him. At the end of the series, we also see Todd, the psychopath meth daemon, exhibiting such traits towards Jesse. The neo-Nazis are keeping Jesse captive, forcing him to cook meth and live in a dungeon. Todd brings Jesse some ice cream after a successful cook and leaves the tarp off the dungeon so that Jesse can look up at the stars. The filmmakers and showrunners want to give us something. Yes, they want to placate us and ensure that we'll be watching next week, but I believe that there is also a genuine desire to absolutely delight us fans. So they flood us with Easter eggs. I loved watching Gotham and catching a reference to Killer Croc or some other villain that we Bat fans know and love. When Gotham tosses me such a reference, I feel like I'm part of an exclusive club. Sadly, very quickly I came to realize that this particular club sucks. Most of us have been through this. We've been held captive by programs that don't meet our standards. We've stuck by them as long as we can, but we're tired and need to move on. Oftentimes it is the season break where, after some time away from our captors, we come to our senses and find that we don't have the energy to defend these shows any longer. We move away, we move on, because we're empowered by better programming. I was devoted to Under the Dome, and then I found Hannibal. I broke away from Gotham and I found Westworld, and I was saved because I realized I could do better. Now, contrary to popular belief, I am not, in fact, a psychologist. And yes, this essay is meant to be mostly tongue-in-cheek. But when I was breaking it down, I was surprised to find so many similarities between the syndrome and my own experiences with Gotham, Under the Dome, and others. On a surface level, at least, it all fits pretty well. But now I want to know, what do you think? Have I finally lost my mind? What shows are still holding you captive despite the fact that you hate them? Also, let me know if you would like to see more rants and essays. Hit the comments below and let's discuss. If you enjoyed this rant, please like and share as it totally helps me to build this channel. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do so by clicking the Courtshake logo at the bottom right of your screen. Thanks very much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Take care.